Hi, dear students. Happy 2022. A happy new year to all of you. May God bless you abundantly with good health and prosperity and all the good luck for that. So, this is the first video of 2022. So, through this video, we are going to discuss the important topics of block number 2. So, as we already discussed, the about the online classes, free classes, as well as the PDF notes, all are happening through our channel. So the link will be provided in the description box. Those who want to be a part of our journey, please join it, okay, and make use of it, right? So as usual, if you feel the contents are helpful, please like, share and subscribe the channel, right? So without further delay, let's get started. So let's start with planning. So what do you mean by planning? It is a basic function of management. So according to Kuhn, planning is deciding in advance. So what to do, when to do, and it is a process through which we are seeking answers for certain question. That is, what to do, where to achieve. So for example, currently an organization is in a stable position. They want to achieve second position in the industry. So why they want to achieve that? Okay, so next, where they want to be in after 5 years. Okay, so when they have to start that plan and how they have to implement that plan, what are the strategies they have to adopt, and who is to be there with them in implementing that plan. So these all questions have to be answered through the planning process. So it's a future course of action. So it's an exercise that is helpful in problem solving, decision making, etc., and it is helpful in the determination of course of action so as to achieve the desired goals. Okay, so it's all pervasive. Pervasive means it is applicable at all levels of the management. So it is helpful in avoiding confusion, reducing uncertainty, risk, wastages, etc. Okay, so what are the characteristics of planning? Planning is looking into the future. So planning and code and controlling, so these two functions have to go hand in hand. Okay, so that is, if planning fails, that means the entire function will fail. So the planning done properly, but you failed in controlling the activity, definitely the plan, all the plan and all these things will go to south, right? So that means these two things should be completely controllable one, and the planning without controlling and controlling without planning, both are a wastage of time, right? Okay, so it involves predetermined line of action. So it has to discover the best alternative and among the available alternatives. Okay, so it's a continuous process. You plan today and you are not doing it after 1 month, so that is not planning. So if you are planning something, it should be a continuous process, and you have to make amendment, how to get the feedback, how to control the action, then only you will get the purpose served, right? So it's an object to achieve predetermined objective in a much better manner, and it integrates various activities of the organization. As we discussed, it's a kingpin function, and it is a integration of different activities. So these are some of the characteristics of planning. So planning process, we have first is establishment of objective. Okay, so for first, the organization should be clear what is the objective. So once the objective is established, they have to develop premises. So what do you mean by premises? So premises means a meaningful assumptions. So when we are forecasting particular things, so for example, the organization wants to introduce a new product into the market, so they will go ahead with the forecasting, and after forecasting they will come with certain meaningful assumptions. So that is known as a premises. So there are different types of premises: internal premises and external premises. Internal premises means they can be controlled by the organization. External means they cannot be controlled. So that is coming under the pestle factors, for political, social, economic factors. So internal factors means cost control, marketing strategies, and tangible and intangible. Certain factors they can touch, and intangible means they can't. That means the competencies of the employees. Then the tangible factors means the profitability. So that is, premises means the meaningful assumption. So if we are adopting this strategy, what will be the end product, and that is forecasting on the basis of the SWOT analysis, and also that is coming under the premises. Okay, so then come after developing the premises, they have to evaluate and selection of alternative. You will get different alternative, and you have to evaluate the pros and cons of each alternatives, and then evaluate it. And after evaluating and selecting a particular alternative, you have to formulate the plan for that, and after formulating the derivative plan, you have to secure the cooperation and participation from the people who are involved in, that is the stakeholders, and after implementing that particular plan, then you have to review it and then follow up it. So these are the process involved in the planning process, right? Then let's look into the different types of planning. So before getting into the different types of planning, why we need planning? So currently we are in a VUCA world, that is volatile, complex, ambiguous, as well as an uncertainty involved world. So here the direction, you are in need of a direction, so you want to complete that task, and you should be directed properly. For that, planning is a needed one. So if you have a proper plan in hand, so it will reduce the uncertainty, it will reduce the risk associated. It is a kingpin function, so that is the basic foundation. So on that basis of that plan, you are making the other function. So that is a kingpin function. It is the integration, it is helpful in the allocation of resources. So these are some of the importance of planning in an organization, right? Let's look into the types of planning. On the basis of the scope, we have strategic and operational and tactical. Strategic plan means that is at the top level, that is the corporate social responsibility plan, then diversification plan or merger plan. All these are coming under strategic plan. Operational plan is coming under the lower level, that is supervisory plan. Then the tactical plan, that by the middle management, right? Then time frame. On the base of time frame, long term, short term, and the medium term. If it is more than 3 years, it's a long term plan. 1 to 3 short, middle term, medium term, and less than 1 year, so that's a short term one. So that is commonly come under operational plan. Then we are going to the specificity. So that is, if you are making a plan as a directional one, so that's HRP is a directional plan. You cannot say it is a specific plan. But for training plan, if you are planning a training program, and for that you are making a plan, so that is a training plan. That is for the particular department only. So that is for the specific activity. So that's a specific plan. Frequency of use, that is certain plans are only meant for a particular purpose only, that can be for a single use, that is single use plan. If it is acting as a standing plan, so that is can be used as a foundation, and you can make amendment in that, so that is coming under standing plan. So these are different types of plans, right? So we discussed planning process, what is the need of planning, and along with that, what are the different types of planning. I hope the things are clear. Management by objective. So that is a strategic management model. So management by objective, so that was first introduced by Peter Drucker in year 1954 through his book Practice of Management. So here the management by objective means the management, that is the manager is helping the subordinate in setting the goal, and together they are taking care of that goal, right? So for example, if the organization wants to make certain changes, okay, so they want to make their employees a part of it. So for that they can adopt this management by objective strategy. So there are steps involved in this process. So first step is defining organizational goal. What is the goal of the organization? So on that basis, or in line with that organization goal, the employee have to set their goal, and the manager have to make the employees aware. So these are the goals of organization, and he has to help them in setting their goals. Okay. So once the subordinate or the employees set their goals, the manager also be a part of that process. Then after that, he has to constantly monitoring their performance, progress, and all. After the performance evaluation, so evaluation means assessing their performance. Then after assessing, the manager has to provide them with feedback. So after providing the feedback, he has to appraise it. So we already discussed, means appraising means setting a value. So on that basis of setting a value, they have to be provided with rewards, right? So after the performance appraisal, so if they have to be rewarded, they will be rewarded. So something more to be added, then they will be provided with the training. So that's the way this management by objective is happening in an organization. So it is a time consuming process, and it will take normally 1 to 2 years for the better effective MPO to be done. So the disadvantages means this manager as well as a subordinate have to be away from the current working thing to be involved in the management by objective goals. So there will be a messiness in the current work schedule, so that can indirectly affect the organization's effectiveness. So that is one of the disadvantages. Then another one is that it involves lots of paperwork. Advantages means it will definitely make the employee more committed. They have a sense, they will increase sense of commitment with the organization, and they will be highly motivated because they are being a part of that decision making. So it can reduce the conflict and it will be helpful for employee engagement. So these are some of the advantages of MPU. Okay, so it is, can be otherwise known as management by result. Okay, so I hope it's clear. So let's look into staffing. So what do you mean by staffing? Staffing is a process that involves acquiring the employees. So that is a recruitment process. Then deploying, that is you are inducting them, you are providing orientation to the newly recruited employees, and then you are developing them, you are retaining them. So that is coming under the development process. Okay, so these are the main definition of staffing. So the staffing is a process that involves acquiring, deploying and retaining the workforce of sufficient quantity and quality so that it can create a positive impact on organizational effectiveness. So it's a process over a system. It is a continuous process, and it is it is helpful in improving the organizational effectiveness. So there are certain elements involved in the staffing process. So starting with human resource planning. So human resource planning means it is planning the human resource for future. So that is, in the human resource planning, the organization is trying to assess the current HR status and how much they will human resource they will need in future. So they will make a plan of it, and they will provide a plan for these entire HR policy. So that is coming under human resource planning. So once the human resource planning is done, then comes the job analysis. Okay, job analysis, it involves the analysis of a particular job, that is job description and job specification. So these are the two elements of job analysis. Job description means it will explain you what you have to do once you are into an organization. What is the nature of your work, what are the procedures you have to follow in doing a particular job. Job specification means what are the qualification you are in need to do that job. So that is the job specification. So job description and job specification is one of the important factor that will help in the recruitment process. So once the job analysis is done, then comes the recruitment process. So recruitment process is of two types, that is internal and external one. So the recruitment process, from you are taking the you are taking people within the organization, so that is internal, or using the internal referrals. Then external means you are taking the employees no recruitment from the outside. So that is the external recruitment, campus interviews and all are coming under the recruitment, right? So next is the selection process. So once the recruitment is process started, then comes the selection. So recruitment is a positive process, that selection is a negative process. You are screening the employees, screening the candidates, and you are taking the best out of it. So that is from the recruiting candidates point of view, it is a negative process, right? After the selection, next come the induction and orientation. So induction means a short term process, so it will extend up to 1 day, and it is more informal than well compared to orientation. So it is the first process. Initial process is induction. So induction is a welcoming process only. Then comes the orientation. So orientation program means it's a long process. So through the orientation program, the organization is trying to make the employee comfortable, newly recruited employee comfortable with the organization, and making him aware of what is happening in the organization, what is the work culture, what are the policies, what are the procedures, and how he can be fit in the organization. So they are helping him in attaining that comfortability. So that is known as the orientation, right? After that orientation process, there comes the training and development process. So training and development, we already know that training is a short term process while development is a long term process. Then comes the performance appraisal. So performance appraisal means you are evaluating the performance of the employees, and after appraisals, so that is setting a value, and on that basis you will provide them with the rewards or the transfer. Sometimes their performance is not up to the mark, so they have to there are different ways you can motivate them, or you can rectify them. So these all are the after effect of performance appraisal. Then the transfers, then the last process is the exit. That is, through that process the employees are getting out of that system. So that is the, that it can be through the retirement, death, resignation, dismissal. All these are the ways through which the exit of an employee happening from an organization. So these are the important components or involved in the staffing process: HRP, recruitment, selection, induction, training, and performance appraisal, transfer and separation, right? So let's look into the directing functions. We already discussed planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. So directing is the fourth function. So the directing function, it means it's guide, it's act as a guide, it act as a motivator, and it acts as a communicator. So that is, through the directing function, the manager is guiding you, they are communicating information with you, and they are motivating you, right? So the directing function involves four important components. So they are the supervision, motivation, leadership and communication. Supervision means they are directing efforts. So the employees are supervised by their superiors, and so that they can accomplish the stated work output, right? Motivation means you are motivating the persons with the rewards, or external or internal rewards, so that they can attain the goal in an effective manner. So that is known as motivation. So in later units we will discuss about the motivational theories, then leadership theories, communication based things and all. So the leadership is another important component of directing. So the leadership means a leader style. So there are different types of leadership styles. Are there autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, transformational, transactional leaders? So these leadership style, we will study in detail the leadership theories in the next blog. So these theories are focusing on the fact that depending upon which leadership style the manager is adopting, it has an impact on their subordinate, right? Next is communication. So communication means the transfer of information. So we already discussed that there are mainly two types of communication: formal communication and informal communication. When we are coming to formal communication, we have vertical communication, horizontal communication, as well as diagonal communication. Informal, we have the informal or grapevine communication. We have cluster type, probability based one, or chain type communications are there. So in vertical communication means upward communication or downward communication. Upward communication means the subordinate is providing feedback to the supervisor. Downward means superior is providing instruction to the subordinate. So that is the vertical communication. Horizontal communication means communication happening between the people who are working in the same level, right? So that is marketing manager to the HR manager, marketing executive to the HR executive. So diagonal means it is happening between different hierarchy level and different departments. Okay, so the marketing manager to the HR executive. So that is the diagonal type of communication, right? So these are the four important elements of directing. What are the functions of directing? It guides and helps the subordinate to complete the given task properly. Then it motivates them. It helpful in maintaining the discipline. It involves supervision. So these are the functions of directing, right? So what is the difference between on the job training and off the job training, right? So on the job training means it is provided at workplace, and it is provided by the superiors to the subordinate. It is less costly and it is less time consuming. It is used where the jobs are very simple and it disturbs work schedule, where it is suitable. So if there are very less numbers of employees to be trained, so it's a better one is the on the job training. So it is provided at a workplace, so that means there is no other expenses involved in it, and you are getting then trained by the supervisor. So that is the on the job training. So when we are coming to the off the job training, we have these. It is provided by the experts, sometimes from the organization, or sometimes the outside experts will come and train you. So it's an expensive affair and it is more time consuming. You are away from your workplace, so it will definitely affect the organization's productivity. Okay, but at the same time the work schedule will not be getting affected, because otherwise if you are working, lots of people are to be trained and they are working within the workplace, so definitely it will create a mess there, right? So these are some of the differences between on the job training and off the job training. So what are the various training methods that are coming under on the job and off the job training? On the job training method, we have job rotation, then one-to-one instruction, then computer based training, project management, apprenticeship, coaching, mentoring. So that is you're working in dispatch section for 1 week, then after that you are to the filing section, then to the account section. So that is job rotation. So that means you will get an idea of what is happening in different department. So it also remove the boredom. So that is one of the on the job training method. Then one-to-one instructions, you are getting instructed by a supervisor on a one-to-one basis. Then computer based training, then apprenticeship, then coaching, mentoring. So these all are the on the job training. That means you are getting trained by your superior within the workplace. Okay, you are not away from the workspace, right? Then off the job training method means simulation, vestibule. Simulation of vestibule training means you are trained by outside the workplace and they are provided you with the same prototype machines. So for particularly in the case of or aerospace and all, so aeronautical industry and all, so it is quite it's a quite expensive thing, and it cannot be affordable by organization if you are trained within the real atmosphere. So it can sometimes, if something goes wrong, it will affect the organization as a whole. So it is better to make a prototype of that similar to that, and they will create a similar environment outside the workplace and you are getting trained there. Okay, after you are being expert in that, then they will shift back you to the workplace. So that type of method is known as simulation or vestibule. Then role plays, then lectures, then seminars and conference, programmed instruction. So these things are happening outside the workplace. So that is coming under the off the job training method. Okay, so on the job training method, off the job training method, what are the different methods coming under on the job and off the job? So that's one of the important question, right? So that's all for this video. Hope the contents are clear to you. Okay, so if you have any doubt, please put a comment in the comment section, so I will get back to you. Okay, so we'll discuss the important topics from block number 3 in another video, so that I will post within 2 to 3 days. Okay, so a new year, a new start, a long way to go. So wish you all a successful and a glorious happy new year 2022. So exams are around the corner, so stay safe, take care of your health. So we'll meet again with next video. Until then, it's bye from me. Thank you, take care.